On TikTok, the algorithm decides who sees you. 7 out of 10 views come from the For You page. It's the one traffic source that hasn't moved in a year. So whether your next video reaches 200 people or 200,000 is mostly down to what your algorithm does with it. And the same engine runs if you have 50 followers or 5 million. That's why you can start from nothing and still get seen. And it comes down to a handful of signals you give the algorithm every time you post. And no, TikTok doesn't publish how the algorithm works, but it does leave traces in every post. So we analyzed 2.3 million of them to see which signals it rewards. So let's start with the basics: how often you post and when. Neither one makes you go viral, but together they're what gets your video tested in the first place. And consistency is the one thing people sleep on the most. After you publish on TikTok, 96% of the views you'll ever get will only arrive on the first 10 days that you posted. And also 98% of the interactions. And that is the window where the algorithm is testing your video with different audiences, also pushing it further to see if the signals are good and pulling it back if they're not. And after that 10th day, growth slows right down. So if your video didn't take off, it wasn't necessarily because it was bad content. It's just how the system works. And waiting 3 weeks between posts doesn't help. It just means 3 fewer windows open. Think of it like this: each post is its own 10-day test. So more posts means more windows, which means more chances of one of them to actually take off. But with this, I don't mean that you have to post for the sake of it, because hitting a number won't help the algorithm figure out who to send you to. What pays up is showing up week after week with content worth testing. Take, for example, Inflow, an ADHD app. They post more than once a day and pull 19 times the interactions of accounts their size. They've pretty much figured out that on TikTok, you keep showing up. You don't just post one video and wait around. Now, when you post matters just as much. And because of that same window, most of your reach comes from the For You page, not your followers. But when your followers are online, it's still the best read on when your people are scrolling. Post then, and the first test starts with enough of them to react early, while the algorithm is still deciding whether to push you. And the sweet spot across all accounts is 6 to 9 p.m. Peaking around 8 p.m., though yours might be different. And the day of the week barely matters. What counts is the hour that you post. And keeping those two hand in hand, both posting in a steady rhythm and catching your best hour every time, is exactly where, unfortunately, most people fall off. And that's what Metricool is for. It shows you when your audience is active. You can schedule your whole week around those hours, so you can keep that rhythm going even on the weeks you're slammed. But all of that just gets you tested, because it still doesn't tell the algorithm what you're about, which is what decides who sees you. And hashtags are the simplest place to start. And people have been calling hashtags dead for years. But the data actually says otherwise. Actually, discovery through them doubled this year. So they pull more weight than they used to. And they work by telling TikTok what your content is about, so it knows whose feeds to put you on. I'd say use 1 or 2 that are very specific and descriptive, and skip hashtag FYP or hashtag viral, because those take you literally nowhere. For example, if you teach English, use hashtags that are related to that niche. If you cook, tag the dish or the technique. Give it something to work with. But that's just telling the algorithm about one post. The bigger signal is what your whole account adds up to. TikTok shows content to people by interest, not by who they follow. So when you make the same kind of thing over and over again, it starts to figure out who you're for. And take that literally. The accounts that pop in terms of data have one format they run again and again and again. Take Wild Hats. They make cowboy hats. Their videos average 95,000 interactions, and that's 31 times what a account their size gets. And you're not gonna believe it, but their whole content is just one format, just one. And that is the process of making a hat. And yes, this is actually something that they'd be doing in the workshop if they were recording a video or not. It turned out to be their thing, their best format, what worked for them. So what I want to say with this is test, play, find your format, give it time, and then trust it for a few weeks. And I know it will feel like you're going in circles, but that's exactly where the algorithm is starting to figure you out. Okay, let's say you're applying all of this. By now, the algorithm has a good read on you, and it's putting you in front of the right people. What those people do next, the likes, the comments, the shares, that's the signals whether it decides to keep pushing you further. And you can notch that signal, but not the way you think. The instinct is to ask for more likes, but that tends to backfire. Posts that ask those likes get around 60% less interactions than average post. And the likely reason is that it's a one-way ask. Because yes, you get something, but your viewer gets nothing. So the normal thing people do is scroll right past. What works is actually the opposite. Asking a real question. Posts with one get 26% more comments than posts that don't have one. Just don't ask something like, did you find this helpful? Because that's a marketing question dressed up in conversation. Ask a question you'd want answer yourself. Something that makes people feel like their take matters. So keep showing up. Give the algorithm something to recognize you by. And ask real questions instead of begging for likes. That's at least what 2.3 million posts point to. And if you want to go deeper on that data, the full TikTok study is linked at the description in case you want to see it. Would you like to put that into practice? You can create a Metricool account and keep your TikTok consistent without living in the app. See you in the next one, Metricooler.